In this video, we're going to talk about some of the important Civil War figures, like, for example, Jefferson Davis, Robert E. Lee, Ulysses S. Grant, Stonewall Jackson, and William Tecumseh Sherman. In the Civil War, there was two sides, the Union and the Confederacy. The Union believed in anti-slavery, and the Confederacy believed in slavery, or should I say pro-slavery. Jefferson Davis, Robert E. Lee, and Stonewall Jackson, they were all on the side of the Confederacy. Meanwhile, Ulysses S. Grant, William Tecumseh Sherman, they were on the side of the Union. So let's just start with the Confederacy. Jefferson Davis. Info: Jefferson Finn Davis was President of the Confederate States of America throughout its existence during the American Civil War, from 1861 to 1865. After the war, he was imprisoned for 2 years and indicted for treason, but was never tried. He served in the Congress and the Senate in the 1840s. He also fought in the Mexican War of 1846 to 48, and in 1853 was appointed Secretary of War by President Franklin Pierce. He returned to the Senate in 1857, where he advocated the spread of slavery to new territories. Robert E. Lee graduated from the United States Military Academy at West Point in 1829. Before the war, he served in the Mexican War as a commandant for 3 years. In March and April of 1861, Lee was offered the position of commander of the principal Union Army. After Virginia seceded on April 17th, he resigned and joined the Virginia Army. And because of his great military tactics, he became the commander of the North Virginia Army. Even though he was outnumbered, he won the Second Manassas, Fredericksburg, and Chancellorsville. Then in the Battle of Gettysburg, he lost the battle. His greatest contribution to the U.S. was his effort to unite the country after the Civil War. Last but not least, Jackson Stonewall. Second only to Robert E. Lee, Thomas Jonathan Stonewall Jackson was one of the greatest Confederate generals. When Virginia left the Union, Jackson was commissioned as colonel and was tasked with making volunteers into good soldiers for the war. In 1862, Stonewall Jackson marched with 17,000 troops in the Shenandoah Valley, then defeated the superior Union forces at Front Royal, Winchester, Ross Keys, and Port Republic. After the Confederates, let's talk about the Union. First, let's talk about Ulysses S. Grant. C.S. Grant led the Union forces to victory over the Confederacy in the Civil War. Grant was appointed to command a volunteer regiment. By the end of Grant's training, he had a group of highly trained soldiers. In February 1862, Grant attacked Fort Henry and Fort Donelson. Grant then forced the Confederate commander to surrender. Following, Grant was promoted by President Lincoln to Major General of Volunteers. And lastly, William Tecumseh Sherman. William Tecumseh Sherman was a strong Unionist. He volunteered for duty in the United States Army in May 1861. Initially appointed colonel of the 13th Infantry Regiment, Sherman led a brigade of inexperienced troops at First Bill Run / First Manassas before being transferred to the Western Theater. He is viewed as an expert military strategist who saw the advantages of psychological warfare and incorporated into his plan. He is viewed as an important general who helped bring the Civil War to an end with his March to the Sea. After the war, Sherman remained in the military and eventually rose to the rank of full general, serving as General-in-Chief of the military from 1869 to 1883. Praised for his revolutionary ideas on total warfare, William T. Sherman died in 1891, February 14th. He died at the age of 71 in New York. And that concludes the end of our video for important Civil War figures.